right, welcome to the new JFK show number 183. And we didn't chase quite enough rabbits last week. We had John Hankey on. We're talking about the treasury notes and all that. It's always more of a John Hankey show, which I really like. John, he brings in a lot of different ways of looking at things. And
he's very cerebral.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to actually do what Larry wanted to do last time and chase a few rabbits down the hole. We also have an interview with Linda Willis, and she was a eyewitness in one of the older ones that were, I think, in their teens. Larry says she was 9. I thought she was more like 14, but we were going to play a clip about that. Anything we want to talk about before we get that going?
I thought it was Rosemary.
It might be. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Let me look real quick. I can tell you in 2 seconds.
I think it's Rosemary.
Linda Willis. Linda Willis.
Okay. Then Rosemary was the mother.
Okay. All right. It makes sense to me. So, all right. So y'all like to do that first, or is there anything we'd like to talk about?
Don?
Yeah. Okay. Just as a parting shot to our boy Hankey, I just wanted to read quick from Protocol number 9. The words of the liberal, which are in effect the words of our Masonic watchword, namely liberty, equality, fraternity, will, when we come into our kingdom, be changed by us into words no longer of a watchword, but of an expression of idealism, namely into the right of the liberty, the duty of equality, and the ideal of brotherhood. That is how we shall put it, and so shall catch the bull by the horns.
Well, Don, go ahead, Larry.
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, what do you say about John Hankey?
Gary, it's Rosemary. I knew it was Rosemary. I'm looking at it right now on Wikipedia. And,
all right. Well, it says right there on the, but I'm not going to argue with Larry Rivera, the king.
It says right here, little Rosemary Willis running alongside JFK's limo as the first shot rang out.
We'll have to see.
Rosemary Willis, born 1953, was a close witness during the assassination of U.S. President John F. Kennedy, clearly seen in the Zapruder film at the start of the assassination wearing a white hooded coat and a red skirt, while she trotted in the Dealey Plaza grass located to the presidential limousine's left.
All right.
It was Rosemary.
Okay, we'll see. We're putting our money on it. All right, so I have to say one thing in defense of John Hankey, not really in defense of him. What is your response, Don Fox, to Hankey's assertion that the protocols of Zion are a hoax?
Well, it's bullshit, because everything that's in the protocols was also written about by different Jews well before the protocols had surfaced. Namely guys like Lenin, Marx. This stuff had come out. This stuff comes from rabbis from who knows how far back. I could spend a whole show going into that. Maybe we'll do that sometime. But the larger part, the point I wanted to make was the French Revolution was not an uprising by the people against the aristocracy. It was an uprising of Jews. Where they say right there that was liberty, equality, fraternity is a Freemason. Were Freemason watchwords. Freemasonry was Jewish.
Okay.
So this was a Jewish revolution against the established social order in Europe.
Okay. So you're telling me that the protocol of Zion is not fake news?
No.
Okay. All right, fellas. Let's go on to, it's either Linda Willis or Rosemary Willis. I'm staking my bets here. It says Linda Willis at the top of the screen, but
That's wrong. That's wrong, Gary. It's got to be wrong.
Okay. Here we go.
That's Rosemary.
First of all, can you go ahead and tell me the name? You've got 3 names. You want to use, how do you like your name spelled on television?
Okay, Linda Willis, W-I-L.
Okay. Linda, where were you on November 22nd, 1960?
On November 22nd, 1963, my family and I came to Dealey Plaza to see President Kennedy and his parade. We started at the corner of Houston and Elm Street.
Turn up the sound.
come forward. As they turned to the right on Houston Street, my father and I followed the limousine. My father had a 35 millimeter slide camera. He did not have power line, so he was snapping and winding just as fast as he could. We followed approximately the speed of the limousine, so we were pretty much running. So as the limousine turned from Houston Street back onto Elm and came by the Grassy Knoll area, we were still following the limousine. Then we got to a point and stopped probably within 100 feet of the limousine as the shots rang out. And then we saw the whole thing unfold before our eyes.
In terms of where we're standing now, how close to where we are now were you when the shots started happening?
I'm probably a little closer now than I was the day of the assassination. But I had a full view. The crowd was not very great at this point in the parade. Further up Main Street, there were a lot of people that were probably 10 deep from the curb back. But at this point in Dealey Plaza, the crowd was pretty thin, so we had a good view of the president's limousine. So I was very close and could see everything.
In terms of what you saw, what did you see? Well, I'm sure this is something you've seen before. You described it. What did you see?
Well, first of all, at age 14, the day that the assassination occurred, I was very aware of what was going on around me, and I had my full attention trained in on the president and his limousine. I really didn't watch anything else. It was a big deal for a girl my age then to see the president, so I didn't really watch anyone else. And so as the motorcade proceeded, I never took my eyes away from the president, and he was waving and, in a great mood, glad to, be in Texas, probably trying to repair some political problems going on. But I was, real glad to see him waving like everyone else, and having my eyes totally trained in on him, I saw all the things that happened within the limousine, the reactions from the shots. And when he was hit, he grabbed for his throat. And the most important thing I remember, of course, is the headshot. When the headshot occurred, his brain matter just blew out the back of his head. It was a sunshiny day like it is right now, and when the sunlight hit the brain matter, it just illuminated. There was an orange aura around his head, and you'll never forget that kind of sight.
You described it as being what was it like to witness something like that?
Probably that question is the thing that's asked most often of me, and my initial reaction, and the thing I remember the most, is like watching a film in slow motion, frame by frame. I feel like it's probably a protective mechanism in looking back, that I didn't go into shock, but I just couldn't believe my eyes. I knew what I was seeing, but I was still in disbelief. It was very unreal. It was like watching a movie, but you realize you're there.
What was the mood of that day? What was the feeling down here before and after?
Well, I think, in anticipation of the motorcade, people were glad to see him. The people who probably didn't like Kennedy at that time didn't bother to come see him. So the people who were here were glad to see him. The reason my family came, my father was in Texas politics in 1947 and 49. He served in the Texas legislature and House of Representatives, and Lyndon Johnson, John Conley, Sam Rayburn, so Ralph Yarber, these were all personal friends of my father's, and he had Democratic ties. He had been to fundraisers for President Kennedy and had met him. So my father was bringing my sister and myself and my mother to see his friends. And so that's why we were here. We were here to see my dad's friends. So it was a little more important to us than just the average bystander. And so it was really a great shock to my father to see this kind of thing going on with people that he knew.
In terms of your reactions, what was your reaction like that?
Well, I think, I was glad to see the motorcade, first of all. It was exciting to see a president. That was a big deal for a girl of 14. But when the shots occurred, with the first shot, I really thought firecrackers, just, in celebration. But as soon as the, second and third and maybe subsequent shots, I have no idea how many. I know there were at least 3, maybe more. When that occurred, I was just in... well, shock is not the right word. I was in total disbelief and, very frightened, actually. Because the crowd around us, many people fell to the ground. They were afraid they would be hit. But I was frozen. I didn't hit the ground, and I never took my eyes away from the president.
In terms of people reacting to you? What kind of reaction do you get when you tell people that you witnessed this? How do they? How would you categorize kind of the reactions you got? I'm sure there's a range of them.
Well, I think most people I talked to are amazed that I was here because there was such a small crowd that day. There were very few people who actually saw the assassination. There were people around the corner that didn't see it. They had already taken their eyes away from him because they were facing Houston Street. And so really just a handful of people actually saw what happened compared to the number of people that attended the whole parade. And, you know, there were just a few people watching, and we were all in, you know, just, you know, shock, disarray, you know, people falling to the ground. There are many people who feel like the shots came from the area where the railroad yards are, and people ran across the street that day.
Gary, Larry suggested we'd stop so we can comment on it. Pause.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, Larry, go ahead. Larry.
You there, Larry?
Okay, yeah, I just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that in the movie JFK, Rosemary Willis is shown running, and it's reenacted in the movie when she's running parallel to with the limousine, and she abruptly stops. Okay, and I just wanted to also comment that I had never known that her father Phil had been into politics. We knew that he was a World War II veteran, but this thing about him being in the politics and being in the legislature and everything, it's new to me, and this is why sometimes we have to, you know, look at these videos, you know, and review them every once in a while, because a lot of new information that has been in these videos, you know, popping up. And for those who are watching this video, if you watch the movie JFK, she is the girl running with the limousine in the red skirt, and she stops abruptly. Okay, and people who have studied the Zapruder film, like Roy Schaefer, have noticed the jerky movements that she shows in the Zapruder film, which prove that the film has been altered. In the very early stages of the film, you know, like the early frames, you know, I'm talking about 170s, 180s, you know, and so, you know, this is why, you know, Rosemary Willis is such an important witness.
Yeah, I'm going to look her up in the Who's Who in JFK.
Let me add, in the Zapruder film, she stops and looks at the Deltex building. She's not looking at JFK the whole time. So
She turns around.
if her testimony here is accurate, then they changed her rotation in the film. And if the rotation in the film is correct, then what she's telling us here is not completely accurate. I do believe this woman is completely sincere.
Yes.
It may be her middle name is it Linda? Rosemary.
I've always known her as Rosemary, and
Yeah.
And she seems a little younger than 14 in the film, but you know.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about. I mean, she keeps saying she's 14, and you were saying she was 9 at the time.
Well, she looks younger. She looks younger in the film. I agree with Larry. She looked like she might be closer to 10, maybe.
Yeah, 10, 11, right. Because you know, 14-year-old is, you know, already developed. You know, hormones are already starting to, you know.
Yeah, she's pubescent at 14.
Yeah. And she's got like a bandana.
And this girl looked like she was prepubescent. I agree.
Right, and she's wearing a bandana and everything. So you know, yeah.
Don.
Yeah, it says.
Yeah, don't
Hold
forget-
on. Wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I mean, rich people have more than one name, so a lot of them they go by their middle name.
Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting here.
Yeah.
But according to this book right here, I think we're incorrect, fellas. So here's what it says. Linda Willis, Linda K. Willis, daughter of Philip in Maryland, sister of Rosemary. At 14 years old, Willis with her father on the south side of Elm Street. She told author Jim Mars in '78 shots came from somewhere other than the depository.
Well, maybe there's more. The two sisters were there at the same time, because if you look at the Men Who Killed Kennedy by Nigel Turner, she is interviewed, and she talks about what happened that day. Okay, so we might want to have to go and revisit that.
Right, exactly. So let's see. All right, Rosemary Willis, daughter of Phyllis and Marilyn, sister of Linda Kay, stood at the north side of Elm, across from the street from the Texas School Book Depository. She is visible in the Zapruder film in her
There
sweatshirt.
you go. There you go. There you go.
Wait. Tell us more, Gary. Keep reading.
That's what it said.
I want to know her age.
Okay, I'm not sure it says it. Let me find it. Hang on.
She was 9 or 10. Yeah. There you go.
So then we got a reconciliation of the inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Linda was looking at JFK the whole time and not running, and Rosemary was running and looked back at the Dow Tex.
Jim, let's look at the Zapruder film right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Are you want me to pull it up?
Yeah,
Sure.
Right, here we go.
I can do it.
Okay, go ahead and do it. I'm gonna stay on my
All
Willis.
right. I got 100 megs right here.
I'm glad you all ready to go, man.
Okay, hold on.
And we can. All right. So while you're doing that, we'll talk about Marilyn Willis, wife of Phyllis, mother of Rosemary and Linda. Willis watched with her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Willis H. Stubblefield, from the north side of Elm Street, directly in front of the pergola. All right, and then there's Philip Willis.
Okay, let's go at this frame by frame, because this is important. There we go.
Yeah, you know you muted there, Dr. Fetzer?
Okay, I got it. Let me do
a screen share, Larry. Yeah.
I'm on it. Where's my Zoom here? Okay, we're here. Here. Screen share. Okay, here we go. Okay, see the girl in the red skirt there?
Yeah. That's Rosemary. Yep.
Yeah.
That's Rosemary. And
right.
And
that's 9 or 10 years old.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, now I'm just gonna advance this. She passes by Robert Croft. That's the photographer right there, who was a minister who later ended up in South America. Okay, and look how she stops abrupt. I mean, this is a girl. She's only 9 or 10 years old. Maybe there were two sisters, Linda and Rosemary, but there is no doubt, because I've studied this quite a bit. And if you look at her, she stops right there. You see that?
And she looks back.
Yes. Okay. At the same
Dow Tex, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So here she is, and then she completely stops while she is running with the limo, Jim.
She had been, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, that's a perfect right there. We're seeing frame. What is this frame? Probably one.
So where is Linda?
Yeah,
probably back here.
Yeah.
So the one that steps back on the curve, is that Willis?
Yes. The father, Phil. Yes.
See him step back. He's actually. Well, you can see him.
So look where, and like Jim says, she's looking toward her left. Okay. So I'm pretty sure.
Left and back. Left and back.
You want me to run it back? Okay.
No. She's looking to her.
Okay.
Actually, to her right and back, Larry.
Yeah, but I just want our audience to see, exactly what we're talking about here.
Right. Sure. She's right in the center.
Okay, I'm running it back. Okay.
Right, and you'll watch someone jump back on the street. That's Willis.
She is actually running, and then all of a sudden, she hears the.
Wait, point to Willis. Look, point to Willis.
Willis
right.
is.
And there's two women right in between them. There seems to be a gentleman. I bet you that's one of them's the mother, Marilyn and Linda.
This is Croft.
No, that's the minister.
Yeah, the minister. Okay.
But what about the two women in the middle?
Okay, this is Phil right here. Okay, I have the pointer right there. That's Phil, because he's on the street and he steps back onto the curb. All right, and obviously Rosemary is right behind him. okay? And she stops abruptly. You know, I mean, this is, and another thing, her movements have been studied, Jim, you know, many, many times. And I have to, again, go back to the research of Roy Schaefer, a good friend, where he has analyzed and broken this whole film down and shown and proven that her movements are so jerky that it proves that frames have been removed from the excellent Zapruder film. Okay, there she is.
Yeah, and
really stopped.
You know, one thing to bear in mind: once that limo hits the sign, after that they started messing with the people in the background.
Oh, of course. Not only that, Don. If you look, let me go. When I go further, and here, you see how the sprocket holes disappear?
Look at how fuzzy the background people get too, in just a couple of frames there.
And another thing, if you look up at the top, there is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tony Glover. I interviewed her a few years ago, and she's the girl that's standing on the pedestal there on Houston. Okay, and if you look at the hues, she's actually covering part of the doorway. And you can see right here, you see where I have the pointer? That's her jacket. That's her the little coat that she was wearing. And when we interviewed her, wow, that was back in 2016, 2014. James Norwood and I, and she said that the only thing that she remembered was exactly what Rosemary is saying. This kind of halo coming out from the president's head, okay, and which she described as some kind of confetti, and that she thought that somebody was throwing some kind of object, you know, confetti, you know, into the limo, and she had no idea what really was happening. Okay, and see right here, I'm just pointing right here that you can just tell where I'm pointing with the mouse right there. That's the little, that's her part of her jacket, of her coat. And it was a ski jacket that she wore at the time and that she owned. And she actually showed me pictures of her in other settings wearing that attire. So sort of like, you know, everything comes around here, and two very young girls at the time having almost the same view and experience there of the assassination. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. So if you'd like, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Philip Willis. All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Here's what it says: possible Ruby witness, retired Air Force Major who took 12 pictures around Dealey Plaza before, during, and after the assassination, all of which were published in the Warren Report's 26 volumes, testimony and exhibits. Willis himself designated slide number 8 as one of significance, since it shows a man who greatly resembles Ruby at the assassination.
No, that's not him. That's not him. That's
somebody else.
That's somebody else. That's mistaken. That's misinformation, Gary.
Okay. Well, but they're saying that Willis is said that he believed it.
I believe that's Willis 8.
Willis caught the black dog man in one of his.
That's right. Willis 5. Exactly, Jim. Willis 5.
Okay. Yeah, this is slide 8. That's what it says. So, at one time, people did believe it was Jack Ruby, but I don't believe it was.
No, not even close. He was wearing sunglasses in that photograph. And in fact, Jim Garrison, in the Garrison tapes, misidentified him, okay, as Jack Ruby. Yeah, well, nobody's perfect, okay?
Yeah, Willis was for the witness for Jim Garrison in the New Orleans trial for Clay Shaw. He was one of the witnesses there. And,
all right.
And the last thing about him, a little coincidence, that there were always two things that you always remember where you were: the JFK assassination, and back then it was Pearl Harbor, and he happened to be in Pearl Harbor when it happened.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That'd be pretty hard to forget.
Yeah.
And Pearl Harbor and JFK.
Yeah, and I never knew that he was into politics, and that he had been, you know, and that he was there because, you know, he was pro-Kennedy. That's fascinating.
I think Don had some comments he wanted to make.
Go ahead.
No, that's okay, guys. Keep riffing.
You got it. All right.
I got a lot of shots in last week, so.
All right. Well, we're getting a little long.
Hey, Don,
No,
what about,
go on with the interview, Larry.
yeah, Don, but what about who owned the Daltex building? You got to remind us.
Oh, I got to look that up. I got it in my notes here. Hold on. Yeah, we'll go play the interview. We'll come back with that.
All right. We'll just go ahead and take a quick break since we're almost at the half-hour mark. All right. This is JFK show number 183. We've been talking about Linda and Rosemary Willis. All right. We'll be right back.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade.
That's what we were told. Most Americans never believed Lee Oswald was the lone gunman, for excellent reasons. In fact, there were at least 6 shooters who fired from 8 to 10 shots or more who are identified here. We have, finally, the solution to the greatest murder mystery in history, laid out for the world to see, proof after proof after proof. Photos were faked, the body was changed, x-rays were altered, the home movies were fixed. 15 experts contribute to a 529-page book with 1,037 photos and diagrams in black and white and color.
Hi, this is Gary King. If you'd like JFK, who, how, and why, and would like to support the new JFK show, then go to patriotradiobooks.com. That's patriotradiobooks.com.
Did you get some water there, Dr. Fetzer?
I need to get some. Can you give me a sec to get some?
Yeah, go ahead and hit the
Okay.
pause.
I'll be right back. Oh, yeah, I need to pause it. Yes. Okay.
All right, Don Fox, go ahead and tell us about who owned the Texas school book depository.
Daltex, actually. Yep.
Daltex.
Okay, so here's from Final Judgment, page 19 of the ebook, the PDF that I have here. That an assassin quite probably fired on JFK from the Daltex building is most relevant in the context of an Israeli connection, co-owned by David Weisblatt, Bill, a major financial backer of the Israeli lobby's Anti-Defamation League. Daltex, housed on different floors a number of firms that utilize the telephone number of Morty Friedman, an attorney, garment manufacturer, and activist in Jewish affairs. Since JFK was working to stop Israel's nuclear arms program, which received smuggled uranium from U.S. sources, it is notable that one Daltex firm linked to Friedman was the Dallas Uranium and Oil Company.
Yeah.
It's also intriguing that one of Friedman's Daltex business partners was Abe Zapruder, the Jewish dress manufacturer who filmed the assassination and profited immensely. Today, there are some who now believe Zapruder had advanced knowledge of the assassination.
Well, he's the first one to say,
I want to.
What do you say about that? You muted out, Dr. Fetzer.
Oh,
He was on TV that night, and he talked about seeing a blowout here in the front of the head,
And
which didn't occur in Dealey Plaza, but which was something they added on when they edited the film at Hawkeye Works near Kodak headquarters in Rochester. That tells me that he was in on it.
not only that, he was on television that afternoon talking about shots coming from behind him, and in his testimony in the Warren Commission, he talks about motorcycle cops running right past him. So, that's the confirmation that we have that Douglas Jackson and Bobby Hargis went all the way up there on their motor. I mean, at least Douglas Jackson, Bobby Hargis ran in between the 2 limos, and they both went up there, and Zapruder saw them. Okay,
Well, Larry, that's very powerful, and that suggests actually that he's on the up and up. What I was suggesting hinted that he might not be because of describing the blowout, to the right front of Jack's head, which doesn't occur in Dealey Plaza, but is seen in the revised film. But for him to be talking about shots coming from behind him and motorcycle officers around him, that's very significant. That's all true.
It's all in my book, Jim. And another thing, with the blender stuff that we've been doing, it's very possible that there might have been a gunman on the roof of the Daltex because it lines up perfectly, okay? And this is something that has never been studied before and only now being brought out because of our work with Blender, and which needs to be studied.
Yeah.
Terrific. I look forward to more of that, Larry.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with our girl.
All right, here we go.
Not Rosemary.
She really is Linda. She said so herself.
Go for it.
If someone doesn't know you and they find out that you were there, what kind of reaction do you?
Well, I think they probably react to me as somewhat of a celebrity. You know, I'm unusual because I was one of the few people here that day, and the fact that I remember it so well. You know, there were children younger than I was that day who probably don't remember as well. You know, if you were like, 5 or 6 or younger, the chances are you're running around not paying attention. But I paid attention, and so I remember it well. And people feel like, it's unusual that I can recount everything specifically.
In terms of, would you say people are still fascinated with this?
Oh, very fascinated.
If you met 10 people or 100 people who found out about this, what kind of percentage of them might be fascinated versus what percentage of them might go, oh, isn't that nice for you, or something like that?
I would say 80 to 90% are fascinated. I attended a symposium at the Hyatt Regency here in Dallas, November the 14th through the 16th. People from all over the country, paid money to come and talk about it for 3 days. These are individuals, school teachers, people from all walks of life. They are strictly interested in the assassination. And my mother and I were there. My dad was in the hospital at the time, and now he's home and doing well. But we were somewhat celebrities. We were signing autographs, and people wanted to see my dad's pictures, and they were amazed that we were there and had the pictures of it.
In terms of the why, it's been 28 years. Why do you think people continue to be drawn to this moment, fascinated?
Well, it's probably one of the most important things that's happened in history and, in recorded history. And the thing has really not been solved. We don't know all of the details of why Kennedy was killed and who did it, and we may never know. And I think a lot of people are upset that the Warren Commission tried to sweep it under the rug, and in short order, they did it very quickly and handed us information, and most people are not satisfied with that.
When you were here, before we came and talked about it, but in your opinion, where did the shots come from? What did they look like? Did you see Oswald or the school book depository?
Okay, I never looked at the school book depository because I was totally entranced with the president. But I feel like some.
You want to talk about it, Larry?
No, that's what so many witnesses, more than 54 witnesses, said that they weren't even looking at the Texas School Book Depository. They were looking towards, in front of the limousine, and which is something that has been completely ignored by the lone nutters, Jim.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay? We have that many witnesses who have certified that even Billy Lovelady, Bill Shelley, Joe Molina, on and on, Peggy Hawkins, all these people, Gene Hill, Mary Moorman, Malcolm Summers, on and on and on. What else do you need? Witnesses that were there talking about shots coming from ahead, from in front of the limousine. I don't know how, lone nutters, can reconcile that.
All right. Hey, anybody else? Don? Jim?
Go for it.
Well, I was going to say, we know shots came from the Daltex building. There was broken glass on one of the windows. The shot that landed by James Tagg and hit him with the chunk of the curb.
Yeah,
we know that if you trace that shot back from the curb in front of Tagg, back to the limo, and back, it goes to the Daltex building, a second floor window on the Daltex building.
That's right. Harold Weisberg had to file a lawsuit to get the actual results of this bullet that hit the curb, okay? And they did neutron activation analysis on that one point where it hit, Okay, and he went to trial. He did a FOIA request, and he was for years trying to get the results of that. And the government kept, stonewalling him because, like Adon says, you've got all these bullets flying around Dealey Plaza, and nobody knows where they came from, and it's ridiculous. This whole thing, people think, hey, we have ample evidence of shots from in front, shots from behind, shots from the side, shots from below. I don't know what to say because it's just ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Shots came from the depository, but it may have been just part of a plan to maybe take attention away from the person who fired the fatal shots. I feel like the shots came from more than one area.
There you
Possibly
go.
the road area or the
Hello.
area.
Definitely.
I think there was at least one fatal shot that was fired from in front of the president's limousine.
Let's say that again. I mean, he's, pardon me. What do you think the fatal shot came? And why?
I feel like the fatal shot came from in front of the president's limousine because I saw the president's head blow up and all the brain matter went out of the back of his head. The sunlight hit the brain matter, there's orange aura around his head, and it all flew out the back of his head. So it doesn't make sense to be hit from the back and have the brain matter fly out the back.
And your dad was a hunter, so this was something you discussed with him. I mean,
that's correct. My dad is a hunter. He was in World War II. He has knowledge of firearms, the sounds that they make, and especially with hunting, what kind of an entrance wound you have and what happens when a bullet exits. And he has never felt like it all occurred from the school of depository.
in terms of
Yeah, but what about?
conspiracy,
Pause.
Yeah, but what about the? Yeah, Gary. What about the jet effect, though? And reverse trajectory momentum.
Yeah, Alvarez is the one that postulated that, Don.
Yeah, and then reverse trajectory momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to do a survey on where that theory came from.
Hey, Isaac Newton would be turning in his grave. Okay?
what would your conclusion then? What do you think? Do you think there was a conspiracy or not?
Oh, I think there must have been. I think, first of all, security. I think there must have been a conspiracy. The school book depository was probably a perfect place to hide someone, among other places, and the security was not tight that day. The crowd was sparse, and it was just too easy to walk up to the president's limousine. And there were areas around here where a gunman could hide that day. And so I feel like, there was help, especially because, I saw the headshot. I feel like there's more than one gunman involved.
In the movie, how did it come about that you got to play? I mean, first of all, how did it come about?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I was reading about the making of the JFK film in the Dallas Morning News. And I thought, boy, wouldn't it be interesting to be in the film, because I was really an eyewitness. And so as I read 2 or 3 articles about it, my interest became greater. I saw a telephone number in the paper one day, and I called that number and got the casting director on the telephone. And as soon as I identified myself as Linda Willis, he asked me to come be in the film before I had a chance to ask if I could be in the film. And so I was thrilled. I just said, tell me what time, what day, and where, and I'll be there.
And what part did you play?
Okay, I played my mother's part. I was Mrs. Willis.
Oh, good.
And I'm the same age now that my mother was the day that Kennedy was killed, so that worked out nicely.
And how is Oliver Stone?
Pardon me?
How is Oliver Stone up there?
He is a very serious individual. He had a big budget and short time to do the film within, and it was strictly business. He hurried everybody through, but he was very thorough. We did the assassination scene hundreds of times, but he's, I think, an artist and wanted to recreate the assassination scene as closely as possible, and I think he did a fine job.
In terms of interfacing with him, did you get to meet him and talk with him?
I did.
Direct you?
Well, he has a lot of people helping him, so he didn't direct me personally. But I did get
pause.
Yeah. Pause, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we ought to be hearing from her about the limo stop.
Thank you.
We're not hearing from her about the limo stop, which she most certainly should have been reporting here.
Yeah, and not only that, Jim, but Robert Groden as being the consultant, okay, to Oliver Stone,
right?
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just fascinating to see her, in this video, because she is telling everybody shots were coming from everywhere, just like I said earlier. Okay? Yeah. Confirmation of what I just mentioned, and it seems like, segue here, from one thing to another, and that she would right there on camera say, hey, this was a conspiracy. There were bullets flying from all over the place here in Levy Plaza, and the last place that we thought that they were coming from was the Texas School Book Depository. Nobody was looking over there.
And she had to see Jackson motor up the grassy knoll and Hargis run between the limos.
Yes.
She ought to be adding that. When she said Oliver Stone did a fine job, she should add, of course, it was not completely consistent with what happened at the time. Right. Because of the limo stop and Jackson and Hargis. She should be saying those things.
Yeah,
but she's not as much as a researcher as she is a witness. See, a lot of times the people that live through it do not look at it the way that we do. And Liz Garrison comes to mind. That she is not a researcher whatsoever, even though her husband's famous for the whole thing.
But Gary, she's saying that Oliver Stone did a fine job of reconstructing what she saw. But what she saw ought to be discrepant with what Oliver Stone presents in the film, because he doesn't have the limo stop.
And they had in many different takes in trying to get it right, but trying to get it right in whose view? Robert Groden's?
Right. Probably.
Right. Now,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Just like Beverly Oliver, remember Beverly said she went into shock and the whole world just stopped. And she said it was a frame.
She didn't say she'd go into shock. She said it was like the whole scene froze, and it did freeze because they brought the limousine to a halt.
Right, but she's saying pretty much the same thing. That
No, she's not, because she's not talking about a limo stop or a frozen scenario.
Right. Well, she was actually further down the street, too. She was a pretty good fit way, but I'm just saying, I don't think she's holding out on us. I think that we're wishing she'd be saying more. But, we got 7 minutes left. Who knows?
Well, I just want to... Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
No, a lot of these people were hitting the deck, Gary. They were like, shots are being fired. They don't know where they're coming from. And they're all like Malcolm Summers. If you look at the video of him, it's ridiculous. The movements that he exhibits in the Zapruder film are completely impossible. We did a show a couple of years ago about Roy Schaefer's analysis of the Zapruder film, where we did the blink rate. Remember, we did the Malcolm Summers,
right.
Terry Foster, like Jim just mentioned, and how the movements of these people are completely inconsistent. All right, so it's just more proof about the Zapruder film being extensively altered.
Extensively is the word.
Okay, let's see what else she has to say.
I read sent by Oliver Stone of my father's slides, and so we talked at length about what I thought happened that day. He was very interested in the fact that I was an eyewitness and that I was in his film.
And in terms of your mother, does her recollection of this event differ significantly in any way from yours?
Not at all. We all stood very close that day, and we all feel like we saw and heard the same things. The consensus of opinion was the same.
I want to say something, Gary. If you, again, pause that. Again, if you look at The Men Who Killed Kennedy, there are very, very good interviews with the Willis family. And her mother talks about a big halo of material coming out, from the back of his head. Okay, I cannot stress, enough about how important, the Willis's testimonies are, and you have to go back, and anybody who's watching this, go and research the Nigel Turner, the man who killed Kennedy. I believe it's the very first episode, okay, where they have the Willis family in there, and this is, I mean, you don't even have to go past that as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I remember those well.
It was terribly important. It was just nice to be in the film because of the fact that I was an eyewitness, and I think it was special that I got to play her part. I really liked that. That was nice, but it was just more important to me to be here because they were, investigating the assassination itself.
In terms of your life, how much of your life is still taken up and involved with assassination? People calling you and wanting to hear yet again what your story was and all that?
Well, I get a lot of mail. I get a lot of inquiries as to how it felt that day, just like you're asking me now. People are still very interested. I've done several interviews, just as the interview I'm doing with you now. And it has just by accident become an important part of my life. I just happen to be in the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the right time, whichever way you want to look at it. And so it has affected my life.
And in terms of the movie, what impact do you think the movie's going to have on what I guess is really an ongoing debate? What do you see as the good points and the bad points of having a fictionalized account of this come out at this point?
Well, I think, first of all, Oliver Stone's movie makes people stop and think that maybe the Warren Commission did not tell us all
and be gracious unto you.
To question more and not take things at face value. I think it's an insult to the American intelligence to try to sweep the thing under the rug. That's what I think they've done. They set out to give us a certain piece of information and accept it at face value, and I don't think that was the right way to do things. Also, the Stone movie brought a certain amount of business to Dallas, which was good.
Gary, can we hold on a second? I want to do a screen share right now. Can you pause that?
Oh, okay. Hang on.
Yes.
You want me to pause it?
Yes. No, pause it, because I want to show you the men who killed Kennedy right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, because this is important.
Yeah, Jim's the only one that can pause it.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about you, Gary. You pause your video.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And just a regular house, huh?
There are the Willises right there. Okay. Can you hear this?
You have to put your headphones right next to the speaker.
No. There you go. That's the father right there. That's Philip. Okay. I think I might have this on mute.
Yeah, it's on mute. You can see the speaker's muted. Oh, that's Gary's speaker.
Now, Don's muted right now.
No.
Yeah, Don, I see 2403 out of 5133, and it's got a mute, see, on the speaker there, Don, Larry.
Mine, right?
Larry, your speaker is muted on the video.
Okay.
You see it right there on the screen.
Yeah, the YouTube video is muted. The YouTube video.
Right. Okay, hold on. Let me get this. I can't see the controls because the.
Yeah, you need to come off a full screen and then fix it and then go back. See, everyone doesn't get that when you're in full screen, you can't see chat, you can't see anything.
Okay, do you want to pause that, Jim, for a second? You got that? Hold on. Okay, now let's go here. There you go. You ready?
Yep.
Yes,
Probably came from the depository, which I never have doubted. That's about all they wanted. That's about all got into the one mission. I heard 3 loud shots from the Texas depository.
The headshot seemed to come from the right front. It seemed to strike him here, and his head went back, and all of the brain matter went out the back of the head. It was like a red halo, a red circle with bright matter in the middle of it. It just went like that. A terrible time. You cannot imagine seeing this. You knew it happened, but you didn't want to believe it. The particular headshot must have come from another direction besides behind him, because the back of his head blew off, and it doesn't make sense to be hit from the rear and still have your face intact. So he must have been hit from another position, possibly in the front or the side. I really don't know where. But the back of his head blew off.
So I am very dead certain at least one shot, including the one that took the president's skull off, had to come from the right front. And I'll stand by that to my death. Over my mother's grave.
That's serious.
Hospital 10 minutes after the assassination.
Sure. Yeah.
That is amazing. That, I cannot overstate this, Tim, because you're talking about witnesses who were there. Okay, and this was 1988 when this was the very first episode of The Men Who Killed Kennedy by Nigel Turner. Okay, as we know, the final episode was completely whitewashed out of the existence because LBJ was shown to be prominently involved in the assassination. But going back to chapter 1, the first episode, and where the Willis family were adamant about what you just saw on video here. I don't know how anybody can refute this.
When someone says they're going to stand by this to their dying day over their mother's grave,
right,
they are trying to tell you
that's right,
the truth. I mean, that's a serious thing. And being from the South, when someone does that, that's the ultimate that you can
and say. That Rosemary Willis that you saw there is that little girl that we showed earlier in this film, running with the limousine and stopping and looking behind, towards the Daltex building, and stopping completely in reaction, to shots coming from all over the place.
Yeah, and I wonder why Linda wasn't there. That'd have been cool, I think.
She was probably up with her mother, next to her mother.
Yeah, she's probably married and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and take care of this.
Go ahead.
We're talking about the benefits and the drawbacks of any of this film.
Okay, I think Stone's film added a certain amount of money to the Dallas economy, which we needed at this point in time. There were some people that thought it was inconvenient to have the streets blocked off during the filming of the movie, but anything that adds to the commerce of the area is good. And I think that making people, stop and take notice of what's going on in our government is important. I think we should not accept things at face value. And Stone's movie makes this question, I think.
There would be critics who might say that he's going to make a TV, he's going to make a fictionalized account of this because he's got to make it dramatic. And yet people who are in their, young enough not to remember this are going to look at this film and think, oh, that's exactly the way it happened. Do you think there's a danger that people will accept whatever he puts in his movie as face value?
Not really, because the way I understand the making of the film, there may be 2 or 3 premises presented, and you can draw your own conclusion.
Is there anything I'm not asking you because I'm not good enough to do so, don't have the right information that you think is important to say about your role and watching this or the movie?
No, I think you're doing nicely. I enjoyed making the film because of the fact that I was here the day Kennedy was killed, and that was important to me. I think that the film is going to make people stop and think about what may have happened, and I just enjoyed doing it very much. I was glad to be a part of it.
Do you think we're ever going to know?
No, I don't think we're ever going to know. Probably the only thing that I have not mentioned that I think is really important is the fact that my dad's film was viewed by the Secret Service the day of the assassination. My family went to the Eastman Kodak plant near Love Field that afternoon, and my dad was in the lab with the Secret Service and the lab technicians watching this film being developed. And so in viewing the slides taken that day...
Hang on 1 second. I'm sure this is important.
This is important.
Most traffic and most airplanes.
Right. I'm sorry.
It's sounding important to me.
This is important. Okay.
There's so much I don't know.
More of that
Okay.
Larry, don't
No.
take it too serious.
Okay, you don't know what I'm
Okay,
going to
tell
do.
your story about your dad. Your dad took a lot of pictures. Tell us about what happened.
Okay, the day of the assassination, my father volunteered to have his film turned over to the Secret Service. My family went to the Eastman Kodak plant near Love Field, and my dad was in the lab with the Secret Service and the lab technicians while the film was being developed. Okay, my dad saw the film, and behind the grassy knoll area, there were trains that day. Okay, my dad had the trains in his film. He turned his film over to the Secret Service, and the pictures were in Washington for maybe 2 to 3 weeks' time. When he received his original film back, the trains were not in one.
Time out.
Oh, I feel like something.
Larry,
Yeah. You know, I'm ready to explode. Fred Newcomb did a study on the Willis 5 photograph, and he wrote a excellent paper called "Last Train Out of Deer." And in that paper, he analyzed Willis 5 versus one of the Bond photographs, which were taken from a little bit of a different angle, but showed behind the pergola there. And he said, "Wait a minute. You can see the trains in the Bond photograph, but you can't see them in the Willis." Okay. Yeah. So his whole thesis was that the Willis 5 had been completely altered to erase. You know, if you look at the grill sort of pattern in the Willis 5, you know, he determined, and Fred Newcomb was a photographic expert at the time. We know Tyler Newcomb is his son and everything, and when we did the motorcycle cops interviews, you know, that we transcribed and everything back in 2014. But he was also a photographic expert, and he determined that the Phil Willis photograph number 5 that shows Black Dog Man that Jim was just talking about, and Zapruder and Marilyn Sitzman over there, you know, taking the film on the abutment there, that you should have been able to see the trains behind, you know, the pergola there, but you don't. Okay, so, you know, why would that be? Obviously, we know about the 3 tramps, okay, and what happened there, you know, with the cops, you know, searching, you know, the box cars there behind there. So, you know, why would that happen? You know, what was the purpose of that? All right. So, and what she's talking about right now is exactly, you know, what Fred Newcomb was onto. But, you know, that gets all lost in the shuffle. You know, like Don says, it's minutia, yes, but very important minutia.
While in the hands of the FBI.
Of course. And she's telling you right there, you know, that, you know, his film and the negatives, you know, were taken over where, you know, and right after the assassination, you know, near Love Field, you know, so this also, you know, brings into play what happened with the Zapruder film, the Knicks, you know, everything, which we have mentioned so many times here before, you know, that the FBI was, you know, had people, you know, had their agents, you know, parked, you know, at all these photographic labs, you know, just collecting all the film that was out there, you know, and people, you know, thinking that they were doing their duty, you know, giving, you know, the evidence over, and what they didn't know was that all this evidence was going into a black hole.
Yeah. Just amazing. All right, we got about a minute and a half left. I think she's just an amazing witness. She may not have given us the limo stop, but boy, she's still, I think she's just so amazing.
I agree, Gary. This is excellent. I really, I'm very happy that you brought this video to our attention.
And showed in that film that the Secret Service did not want known.
So they didn't give you all the film back, or frames missing, or did they physically alter the frame?
I feel like the frame was physically altered. It was just whited out.
Hello.
Yeah, and
He's pretty smart.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Gary.
here we go. We're almost there. Every time I hear Larry, he wants to say something.
Life magazine, another amateur photographer. Sound. Okay. Say when.
Go ahead.
Okay. In one of the issues of Life magazine, another amateur photographer had a shot taken approximately.
It's just speaking quick. sound bites. That's what we do.
Right.
Speak in 13 seconds.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. In one issue of Life magazine, another amateur photographer had a picture published taken approximately within seconds of one of my dad's slides. The other photographer's picture shows the train. My dad's picture, taken at, I think, closer range, does not show the train. It's been altered.
He saw it, and then it went to Washington, and it came back.
And it was gone.
Hello. Let me show you. Let me show you guys exactly what she's talking about, because I have it right here, and I want to do a screen share with you guys, if I may.
Okay.
This is, yeah. Go ahead, Gary. Stop your screen. Okay. This is Fred Newcomb, and he did this article and this study back in the late 60s, in the mid 60s, all right? And what he's talking about here is exactly what Linda is talking about, all right? Where you can see the trains in the Bond, but you can't see them in the Willis, all right? Now, why is that? Okay, Jim, you want to comment on this?
The train was actually visible through the pergola?
That's right. In the Bond, but not in the Willis. See, Wilma Bond was across she was across the infield, you know, towards the other side, you know, the other monument. Okay, and this is see right here where I have the mouse here. This is the Bond right here. Okay, can you see this? These are Bond photographs. But when you look at the Willis, okay, these are Bond photos, and you can see the trains behind there. Okay, now when you look at the Willis, they're not there. Excuse me. You see this? They're not there.
Yeah.
Now, you know, anybody who does any type of photographic analysis on this is going to tell you it's been altered, and that is exactly what Linda is talking about.
Yes.
Come on, Larry. You're telling us that Eastman Kodak didn't faithfully reproduce?
Okay, so you know, this is just goes to show, you know, that our audience, you know, we want to brag or anything, but you know, we're on this whole situation here, this you know, and all this research that has been done before. Okay, I need to, you know, again, Fred Newcomb, he was way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that title, Last Train Out of Dealey Plaza.
That's right. So, you know, there you go. I just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely amazing.
Which supports exactly what Linda's talking about. Okay, that's exactly what we're doing here. You know, supporting what Linda's talking about and showing you exactly, you know, the relationship, you know, between, you know, which is happening, you know, with researchers like Fred Newcomb who analyzed this. Again, Fred Newcomb was a photographic expert, and all he had to do was look at the different photographs. And mind you, that they were not the best quality, okay, photographs, but he was able to discern that there was something wrong because we're looking at different perspectives, but there should be a correlation here between what is seen in the Bond and seen in the Willis, but you don't, okay? So there you go.
There you go. All right, last word, Dr. Fetzer.
Oh, you didn't want to finish the last minute of the film?
I think it's just about there, but we can. Why not?
Tie it off.
Yeah. All right, hang on.
Go Linda. Good job, Linda.
Yeah.
Great memory.
Yeah.
We're coming. And now, by the way, I want to nominate next year for the JFK Beauty Contest.
You just stole my line, Gary. That was
Yeah, she's good looking, huh?
Well, better than Lady Bird.
Yeah.
I was going to end the show with that, Gary. Way to go. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like at least one frame of my dad's film has been altered while being viewed by the Secret Service.
Altered? What a novel idea.
Wow, she used the A word there, Larry. She definitely used the A word.
I think we've seen that one before.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, all right, last words of the last words.
Gary, I think you have brought a very, very important video to the attention of our audience, and with the way that we have broken it down is just, I think, very, very, very helpful, you know, to understand what exactly happened here as far as the alteration of the photographic evidence. And like Beverly Brunson said many years ago, that the photographic evidence was tainted, and unfortunately, researchers like Weisberg refused to accept that. But time and the study I have to say the technology, which I keep repeating this over and over, is finally catching up, to the photographic evidence, and time will tell. I think it just keeps getting better and better, for us.
Yeah. Well, all right. I guess we pulled the show out of the hat there, didn't we, boys? So we just reached in our hat, pulled the show out, and we had no idea what we were going to do before we started the show. So
that's why it's called rabbit chasing, Gary.
That's chasing the rabbit way down the hole. So, all right. Yeah. God bless Linda. We're going to have to, maybe she'd like to be on the show. She appears to like, the attention and being interviewed. So I'd love to have her on. It'd be a great thing. All right. JFK show number 183. Appreciate you, Don, Larry, Jim.
Cool.
We're out.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade.
That's what we were told. Most Americans never believed Lee Oswald was the lone gunman, for excellent reasons. In fact, there were at least 6 shooters who fired from 8 to 10 shots or more who are identified here. We have, finally, the solution to the greatest murder mystery in history, laid out for the world to see, proof after proof after proof. Photos were faked, the body was changed, x-rays were altered, the home movies were fixed. 15 experts contribute to a 529-page book with 1,037 photos and diagrams in black and white and color.
Hi, this is Gary King. If you'd like JFK, who, how, and why, and would like to support the new JFK show, then go to PatriotRadioBooks.com. That's PatriotRadioBooks.com.